Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Welcome to our minyan this morning. Again, a warm extension of welcome to all of Gregory's extended family and friends who have joined us for this wonderful moment. It's really a pleasure to have you all with us, and once again to gather as a community on Shabbat morning. We welcome those who have joined us online as well as here in person. A wonderful story is recorded in our rabbinic literature. A man came before the respected rabbi and complained, "Rabbi, the Talmud tells us that when a man runs away from honors due unto him, those very same honors are supposed to run after him. They are to pursue the honoree. Now, Rabbi, I have run away from my honors, but they're not pursuing me. Why?" The wise rabbi explained, "The reason is that you keep on looking backwards." I want to share another story with you about an individual who always scanned his environment. But this character chooses not to look backwards. This morning we begin reading the book of Exodus, Shmot in Hebrew. It records arguably the best known story about the Jewish people. The defining narrative of the Jewish people has served as an inspirational story for people throughout history. Furthermore, the spokesman for the Jewish people, their leader, Moshe, is introduced in the opening chapters of this morning's Sedra. In a story that can only be understood by acknowledging God's providential hand, Moses becomes exceedingly comfortable in the Pharaoh's court. A Jewish boy who is supposed to be killed upon birth is saved by the cunning actions of his mother. That little boy, having grown up in the Pharaoh's palace, has Jewish genes, but has been exposed exclusively to Egyptian culture. Who is he? What is his value system? How can he discover the real Moses? This morning we read about a moment that begins to clarify the trajectory of Moshe's life. He's described in this morning's Torah portion as having seen an Egyptian smiting a Jew. Moses becomes very upset. The text in the Torah states, "Vayithen ko v'cho." He looked this way and that way. When he saw no one, he smote the Egyptian. If we are to understand this literally, Moshe looks to determine if anyone is watching. Since no one is focused on this event, Moshe defends the Jew. But this interpretation seems rather weak because it's doubtful that no one would have been present at a busy construction site in a prosperous country like Egypt. Two very well-known commentators by the name of Netziv and Rav Mecklenburg offer similar but contrasting interpretations of this moment. One suggests that Moshe looked this way and that to determine if any Egyptians would rise to the occasion and defend the Jewish laborer. The other offers the possibility that Moshe looked this way and that, wondering if any Jews would respond and support their family member. As if suggesting a commentary on our world, one would remind us that too often we Jews are ostracized in our world, lacking support from our non-Jewish neighbors. We find ourselves the object of anti-Semites who often seem ready to judge and ridicule, frightening us and injecting fear. The past few years have certainly reminded us of such an interpretation. On the other hand, perhaps Moshe looked this way and that to see if any Jewish workmen were going to support their brother who had been attacked. Again, there are too many times when we have not stood up for one another and defended our people. In another more psychologically focused interpretation of this pivotal moment early in Moshe's career, a midrash suggests that Moshe looked this way toward his Egyptian self and that way toward his Jewish personality. He couldn't see a clear identity. He was neither an Egyptian nor an Israeli. In that moment, he defeats his Egyptian identity, and the extraordinary path of Moshe Rabbeinu is born. That man who led the people of Israel out of Egypt into the unknown of Sinai, to the border of the promised land, was guided by his faith in God. He was a man of amazing courage, profound faith, and an ever-present sense of empathy. On this Shabbat, when Moshe is introduced to us as a man of extraordinary leadership skills, we also focus on the skilled leadership that defined Martin Luther King Jr., a man who honed his gift of speaking into a remarkable art. Martin Luther King coined phrases that touched people deeply and continue to do so. He was a leader that exhibited vision like few others. He uplifted everyone in his presence. Choosing words rather than arms, he would envision a world changed, impacted, and enriched by words rather than violence. Especially today, when we find ourselves in a very polarized society, I pray the words of Martin Luther King will indeed continue to resonate, urging all of us to rise above our differences and embrace our shared humanity. I quote a few of those phrases for us to recall on this weekend devoted to his memory and legacy. He truly had the gift of a prophet, utilizing words to create images in our minds. Simply listen as I remind us of a few of his most insightful and inspirational thoughts, all associated with the initiative upon which he lived and died, social justice. We must accept finite disappointment, but never lose infinite hope. Faith is taking the first step, even when you don't see the whole staircase. Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in the moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. Intelligence plus character. That's the goal of true education. Let us not seek to satisfy our thirst for freedom by drinking from the cup of bitterness and hatred. True peace is not the absence of tension, it's the presence of justice. Man must evolve for all human conflict a method which rejects revenge, aggression, and retaliation. The foundation of such a method is love. And finally, that phrase we all know so very well. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. On this Shabbat of Shemot, before the expected release of Israel's hostages who have been sequestered in tunnels of darkness and hell for 470 days, the words of these giants, Moshe Rabbeinu and Martin Luther King, resound so powerfully. Indeed, may the message of social justice, achieved through love of mankind, ever be the emblem of the Jewish people. Perhaps one day in the future, those who cannot see beyond their bigotry and hatred will learn to admire and respect the pursuit of justice for everyone that has been the guiding light and gift of the Jewish people to humanity. Indeed, may we all look forward and learn to see the potential of ourselves, our community, our nation, and our world. Together we say,